Life as a single father in Texas had its challenges, but for the most part I managed. It was just me, my 8-year-old daughter Alicia, and my 4-year-old son Jay. Their mother was long gone, not dead, just out of the picture entirely. Our modest 2-bedroom house was nestled in a quiet neighborhood, and I prided myself on keeping things stable for my kids. But the nightmare began 2 months ago, shattering our normalcy in ways I could never have imagined. It was a little after midnight when I woke to Jay's trembling hand poking my face. His small frame was shaking, his sobs muffled but relentless. I immediately sat up, my groggy concern giving way to alertness. "What's wrong, buddy?" I asked, expecting the usual tale of monsters or shadows in his room. But what he said made my stomach drop. "The man next door is making scary faces at me." You're right, froze my heart skipping a beat. Jay often had nightmares, vivid ones, but this wasn't his usual talk of creatures under the bed or ghosts in the closet. This felt too real. His fear wasn't exaggerated, it was raw and specific. I walked him back to their shared room. Alicia was awake on the top bunk, arms crossed in irritation. She scowled at Jay as he sniffled. "He's always having dad dreams," she grumbled. "I'm tired of it, Dad. He keeps waking me up." Ignoring her complaint, I turned to the window. The curtains were slightly parted, just enough for a child to peek through. I moved closer, scanning the neighbor's darkened house. 2 windows faced ours. One belonged to their kitchen and the other was perpetually covered with thick curtains. I saw nothing unusual, but something about the silence outside felt unnerving. After soothing Jay and letting him sleep in my room, something he was all too happy about, I chalked it up to a child's imagination. But 2 nights later, Alicia woke me, her voice trembling in a way I hadn't heard since she was little. "Dad," she whispered, her small hand tugging at my arm. The neighbor, he was making faces at me. The weight of her words hit me like a freight train. This wasn't just Jay's imagination running wild. Alicia had seen something too. I sat up, trying to keep my voice steady. "What kind of faces?" I asked. She hesitated, then slowly demonstrated. A wide, toothy grin stretched unnaturally across her face. Her head tilted downward while her eyes locked onto mine in an intense, almost predatory stare. Her neck muscles strained as she imitated the man's bizarre movements, dragging one hand violently across her other arm in a gesture she called playing the violin. To me, it looked disturbingly like a mockery of self-harm. The image of my cheerful daughter mimicking something so grotesque made my skin crawl. I told her to stop immediately and to never make that face again. My neighbor, a man I'd barely spoken to, had always seemed odd but harmless. Now I wasn't so sure. That night, I decided to stay in the kids' room. If there was any truth to what they'd seen, I needed to see it for myself. Around midnight, a sound cut through the quiet, soft clicks like someone clucking their tongue. It was deliberate, rhythmic, and unmistakably human. Then came a faint, high-pitched whistle that sent chills racing down my spine. I crept to the window and pulled the curtain back in one swift motion. There he was. My neighbor stood in the dimly lit window, his face contorted into that horrific grin Alicia had described. His eyes were wide, unblinking, and locked onto mine. He moved his arms in those same erratic, slashing motions. The sheer malice emanating from him froze me in place. When he realized I was an adult and not one of my children, his expression shifted. The grin disappeared, replaced by something even worse: rage. He slammed his window shut and yanked the curtains closed with a force that shook the frame. I wanted to call the cops right then and there, but my curiosity got the better of me. Something didn't add up. Was this even the same man I'd seen a handful of times in the past? The face I just witnessed felt almost inhuman, like a warped caricature of what I remembered. The next night, I armed myself with my handgun and stationed myself in their room again. The kids slept in my room, safe and oblivious. Just after midnight, a loud smack startled me. A handprint had appeared on the outside of the window, impossibly high up. I moved to pull the curtain back, but the sound of heavy, deliberate footsteps on the gravel outside made me freeze. I listened. The footsteps stopped, and the clicking began again, louder this time. I crept to my bedroom to check on the kids. Alicia was awake, staring at the window with wide eyes. Before I could reassure her, a shadow passed behind the curtain. The figure stopped, its silhouette looming impossibly tall. Then it spoke. "Come outside." But the voice was wrong, too deep, too guttural, like it was scraping the edges of my mind. I gripped my gun tighter, my knuckles white, but I didn't move. I didn't dare. The figure lingered for what felt like hours before it disappeared into the night. When the police arrived, they found no sign of my neighbor or anyone else. His house was empty, abandoned. The officers assured me there was nothing to worry about, but I knew better. Something evil had been watching us, and it wasn't done yet. There's something sinister about the familiar. That's what I've come to believe about 1K97.3 The Link, the local radio station that has been the backdrop of my hometown for as long as I can remember. It's the kind of station that plays everything old rock classics, pop hits from a decade ago, even random talk shows when the ad revenue runs low. The Link is omnipresent, buzzing quietly in diners, echoing through grocery aisles, and humming in garages. It's not just a station, it's a soundtrack to life here. Dependable, comforting, harmless, or so I thought. But 3 months ago, that illusion shattered. It was a Monday night. The first time I noticed that I was driving home from work, the kind of night where fatigue weighs heavier than the steering wheel in your hands. I was flipping through the stations aimlessly when I landed on WLNK. The DJ was finishing a song, something soft, probably Fleetwood Mac when his voice cut through the static. And now, the name of the night, he said. There was a pause. The airwaves seemed to hold their breath. Then, with an eerie clarity, the DJ spoke. Jessica Browning. Was it? No explanation, no contest announcement, just a name floating in the static like a ghost. At first, I dismissed it as some quirky new segment. Maybe they were spotlighting listeners, but there was something unsettling about the way he said it, too deliberate, too detached. I didn't think about it again until the following Monday. Same time, same station. And now, the name of the night, the DJ announced. This time, it was Robert Sanchez. The pattern continued, week after week. Every Monday night at 11:05 p.m., the DJ would announce a single name. Nothing more, just those words followed by the name, then another song. By the 5th week, curiosity consumed me. I started writing the names down in a notebook. Jessica Browning, Robert Sanchez, Caleb Howard. Each name felt like a puzzle piece to a picture I couldn't see. Then something changed. One Monday, the name was Caleb Howard. It stuck out because Caleb worked at the gas station near my apartment. I'd chatted with him a few times. He was friendly, always smiling. A week later, I stopped by the station, only to find a missing persons poster taped to the door. Caleb's name and face stared back at me. The clerk behind the counter, a jittery college kid, told me Caleb had vanished after his shift. His car was still in the lot, keys in the ignition. That's when it clicked. Caleb's name had been announced on WLNK the week before. I didn't want to believe it was connected, but denial didn't last long. No, I combed through the names in my notebook, searching news articles and social media. Of the 6 names I'd recorded, 3 were confirmed missing. Jessica Brown, Robert Sanchez, and now Caleb Howard. No one else seemed to notice. When I asked around, people either hadn't heard the segment or swore it didn't exist. Even regular Wunk listeners looked at me like I was crazy. By the 8th week, obsession had replaced fear. The name was Emily Carter. I didn't know her, but a quick search led me to her social media. She seemed happy, smiling selfies, posts about her job as a veterinary assistant. I sent her a message. Hi, this might sound crazy, but I think you could be in danger. Please be careful. She never responded. A week later, her post stopped. Then the news broke. Emily Carter was missing. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I needed answers. I started staking out Wonk's building, a weathered brick structure downtown. It was as nondescript as it gets, just a faded sign in an empty parking lot. At night, only one window glowed faintly. I also called the station, desperate to speak with someone about the 11:05 broadcast. The receptionist sounded confused. We don't have programming at that time, she said. I pressed further. I listen every Monday night. The DJ announces names. It's real. Her voice dropped. Our studio's empty after 10 p.m. My blood ran cold. Last Monday, the name was Brandon Lewis. I looked him up. He was a contractor, married with 2 kids. But I didn't bother warning him. No one ever believed me. Instead, I decided to confront the source. That night, I parked outside WLNK at 10:30. The glow in the upstairs window beckoned like a flame in the dark. At 11:05, I heard the faint hum of the broadcast. And now, the name of the night. Stormed inside. The building was eerily silent, save for the faint crackle of static. I followed the sound up a creaking staircase to the second floor. At the end of the hallway, a door stood ajar, light spilling through the gap. I pushed it open. The room was empty except for a desk, an old microphone, and outdated broadcasting equipment. The on-air sign flickered weakly. Then I saw it, a list of names taped to the wall. My breath caught when I read the last one, Ethan Grant. That's my name. In 6 days since the broadcast, I've locked myself in my apartment, every door and window barricaded. Tomorrow is day 7. If anyone hears this, please stop them. Don't let them say another name. Because once your name is spoken, you're already gone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales. And don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss the next scare.